The photo. It all started a few days ago at school. You see, for our history class, we were looking at 19th century London, or Victorian London as it was more commonly known. So the teacher, Miss Fern, decided to purchase Victorian items, such as canes, clothes, things like that, as well as videotapes that show what life was like back then. There were some old photos too, some of rich people, some of family, but there was one unlike the rest. This one was of a tall man covered with scars, in a Victorian suit with a top hat, in front of a butcher's workhouse. Also in the picture was a group of workhouse children. They were all before their teens, some boys, some girls, all different heights, but as the man smiled, the kids, they looked so scared. It was the man's eyes that creeped me out. They looked so cold, as if he had no feelings, and the kids' eyes seemed to beg for help, as if they were taken from somewhere. Anyway, the class went on as normal, some kids doing their work. I was just messing around trying to be funny. Yeah, the everyday class. When class was over, a few of us, me included, stayed behind to do some extra work, as we were studying history for our selected GCSE course. So we were doing some revision, taking notes, etc., etc. But something was strange. We all felt a slight chill, and I looked up. The eyes of the man in the top hat in the photo, he seemed to be looking right at us. It felt as if he hated all of us in the room, like we broke a window in his house or something. I avoided his eyes. They made me feel uneasy. Man, this is weird, I thought to myself, so I shrugged it off and carried on working. A few hours later I went home, had my dinner, a shower. While I was soaking under the water of the shower, I couldn't help but get a sudden chill on my spine as the thought of the man crept into my head. I tried to block it out and turned off the water, got out the shower, and started drying off. As I had finished sorting myself out, I looked at the bathroom mirror. I froze suddenly. I saw him, the man from the picture. Just for a second, but I saw him with the same dead eyes in the picture. His suit was now ragged and covered with dirt. Then he was gone. The whole night I couldn't sleep. I was still a little freaked out, as I was relieved when daylight broke. I got washed, dressed, and went to eat some jam on toast, when on the radio a reporter said, "And in other news, a local schoolgirl has gone missing. 16-year-old Vicky Main was last seen leaving the Cordo Academy at around 6 p.m. last night. She has not been seen since. Police here asked for people with any information to come forward." I couldn't believe it. Vicky was a straight A student. The last time I saw her was when I left to go home, and she stayed a little later. I went to school. All around me, and 2 others stayed behind. A boy and a girl, both in the same class, so this was normal. The girl had long hair that smelled like lemons. Her hair was blonde and came down to her shoulders, kind eyes with pink glasses. The guy had short black hair. He was a little overweight and a bit of a gamer. "Did you hear about Vicky this morning?" the guy said. Yeah. It's really weird. When I last saw her, she was taking a closer look at the photo," replied the blonde. "Wait, the photo?" I asked, very confused. I mean, what's a creepy photo going to do, really? They both gave me a funny look, as if I just picked my nose in front of them. Obviously I didn't. We were sat down in history again after hours studying. I was taking a look online and came across the picture with the man on a website. I clicked on the site. It was written by Professor Bixby. The site read, in the late 19th century, a workhouse owner in London by the name of Mr. S. Trexton was found guilty of kidnapping young children and making them work in his butcher's workhouse until they either died from an accident, as most workhouses back then was very dangerous, but also because he had a sick way of causing kids' deaths. One by one, he put them into the machinery. The townspeople decided one night to burst into his home after finding the half body of a local girl who went missing a month ago. They dragged him out of his home and killed him. His last words were, "Your children and their children will be mine. I will drag them to hell with me." At the bottom, it read, "Don't look into his eyes, as legend says that any person under the age of 18 that looks into the eyes of Trexton will be dragged into hell by him a few hours later." I thought to myself, is this what happened to Vicky? Being a victim of this nut job? I reasoned this was just plain nuts. I mean, when you die, right? Don't get me wrong, it's impossible for a dead person to drag someone into hell, right? Admittedly, I was scared. It was getting late and all three of us set off to leave. We approached the door. I say the door. I mean a door that allows us to leave. "Hey, I'm Sammy," said the girl. "Hey, I'm Justin," replied the guy. "I'm Jake," I said, wondering where this came from. But before I knew it, we were at Sammy's house for a study/sleepover. After me and Justin had settled, Sammy had sorted out some snacks and some DVDs. Admittedly, it was kind of fun, well, until Justin slowly pulled out the photo from school. "What the hell? Why do you have that?" I asked, seeing his face. I realized that it wasn't in his pocket when he arrived. I didn't... I'm sorry. "I have no clue where this came from," Justin replied. Then the picture caught fire and Justin dropped it with a surprised yelp. We stepped back as one, staring at the fire. It burned. On the photo, nowhere else. Just the photo. Then a male hand, all burned and flesh missing, reached up out of the photo. Then an arm. Then he climbed out of the photo and floated above the photo. Bone, flesh, areas of his body with no skin at all. In a burnt Victorian-style suit, complete with a burnt black top hat. There was Trexton, his eyes pure evil, and he was looking right at Justin. I didn't mean to," said Justin, backing up more pale as the snow. Then, in an old, evil voice, full of hate, Trexton said, "You are mine." As rusted metal meat hooks on chains came out of the photo, latching into Justin's flesh. As he fell to the ground, screaming in pain and terror, the chains dragged him inch by inch until he was so close. Trexton looked down at him, at Justin, and Justin's legs burst into flames. Then as the chains kept pulling him, I quickly grabbed Sammy, and we both held each other, staring helpless, as Justin was pulled into the photo. His agonized screams of terror, the last we heard of him. Then Traxton vanished, as did the flames on the photo, and all was quiet. We buried the photo in the same night, but if you ever find it, please do not look into the eyes of Mr. X. S. Traxton.